All right, Nick. Right in the middle of the workday, we are trailing 3-0. Struck out 5 billion times. And this game looks absolutely disgusting. I got on here. The first thing I said to you is I am ready to move on to LA. I'm ready to move on to LA. I'm already there. Not even concerned about it. If the Reds somehow do something miraculous, I'll take it all back, Nick. But I am ready just to get the hell out of Milwaukee. Hopefully we never see him again.
I'm also ready for Milwaukee to go up against the Braves. I'm going to enjoy that also. So,
yeah. Yep. I don't know, man. How frustrating this can become at times is a little probably. I don't know if it speaks more to my idiotic fandom that comes with this, and or just the fact that this is actually frustrating.
I don't know what you make of like Freddie Peralta kind of being
He's very average,
very average pitcher all year, except against the Reds, he's been incredibly dominant this year. You know, is it?
I don't know, man.
He has the Reds number. Is it the Reds? I don't really go into the whole notion like they're not trying or anything like that.
Of course they're trying. I mean,
maybe trying too hard.
Right.
I mean, they didn't walk against him. I mean, I think that could maybe be the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me.
Yeah, their chase rate today, if I had to guess, I've not seen it, is probably pretty high. I mean, most of the at-bats that I got a chance to see, which was a decent amount of this game. In fact, the big play of the game, the 2-run home run, was on my way home, of course. So I didn't get a chance to actually see it. But there was a lot of just swinging at balls that were not strikes today. And, I mean, it happens. It happens. These games do happen, even though we don't want them to happen.
Yeah, the 2-run home run, first pitch slider. He hung it a little bit. It wasn't like right down the pipe, but trying to get ahead of a guy hitting a $159 with a 437 OPS, like
yeah,
kind of one of those. I just feel like you tip your cap and say, nice piece of hitting. Like, I'm not walking this guy.
Matt McLain's not seeing the ball well today. Boy, is he not. It's not even just that he struck out 3 times. It's that he's swung at some bad pitches, man.
Well, and he had been maybe coming in of anyone that looked like he was, the most comfortable at the plays. That's what just kind of makes me
outside of Will Benson.
Yeah. Well, Will Benson, I think, has struck out 3 times today.
He has. I'm saying that. Saying
for both of the guys that were
right.
Having the best at bats have looked awful today. It's probably just more about Freddie Peralta. I know people don't want to hear that, but
that's just mowing this down, dude. We are just getting mowed down. This is like child's play for the Brewers. Oh well. I mean, you know what though? As crazy as this sounds, this kind of feels like just a flush it and get rid of it type game, and you move on versus losing, 9-8 in extra innings or something crazy. I mean, they all count the same. I get it, but I don't know. One thing I will say that we've gotten out of here on getaway day really quickly. They've kept this game moving.
This is like 2 weeks in a row of that, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it last week that we were like, oh my God, we're live?
Yeah, I was at work, and I legitimately got busy doing something. I looked up and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're in the whatever inning it is already." They didn't do that to me today because I was focused, locked in, making sure that they didn't do that to me. But here we are. Let's see if India can't hit one out of here just for good measure. The rookies stunk today, didn't they? Boy, did they ever. Yeah. India had a pretty good game. I didn't get a chance to see the. At first, Chris Welsh called it an error, but then he corrected himself and said they called it a hit. So I didn't get a chance to see that play, but Outside of that, pretty clean game from Jonathan.
He did have a throwing error.
That was the error that I think that they said they turned into a hit.
They called that one a hit?
They called that a hit.
What? Oh, that is some hometown scoreboard there.
We'll take it, right? We'll take it.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, it's going to look better for us. Boy, that's a Louisiana Bayou right there. Just
when is Devin Williams a free agent? Please. I think he's. Oh my God, he's still got 2 more years after this one. Whew.
Well, boy, oh boy, that was super, super, super interesting in the 9th, wasn't it?
Riveting content, my friend.
Yes, it was. All right, folks. We do them after every game. That means we got a show to do. Let's see if we can't muster one up.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the World Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick, here we sit on a day in which the Reds end a 3-0 loss at 4:23 Eastern Standard Time on a Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is at this point. Thursday? I don't know what day it is. Anyway, it's one of those days. But nonetheless, Nick, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to have discussion about, largely because there wasn't a whole lot of really interesting things that happened in this game. There's one maybe pivotal moment in this game that I can point back to that we'll probably get into after the box score recap. But to keep it moving, as they say. Are you ready for a box score recap?
I'm ready. I got a real big one today, Trace.
I bet you do. I bet it's riveting. Let's hear it.
Above and beyond. Well, the Reds defense, they did make some good plays early in this game. Bottom of third, runners on second and third with 1 out. Matt McClain made a nice play throwing out Joey Weimer at the plate. Bottom of the fifth, Ellie De La Cruz made a really great diving catch at third base, saving a run, took away a single from Christian Yelich. But the Reds offense, they were just absolutely dominated by Freddie Peralta. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks. Peralta struck out 13. He only needed 89 pitches to do it. Peralta had 24 swing and misses. Ben Lively, he matched Freddie Peralta through the first 6 innings. But unfortunately, Tyrone Taylor must have just been sitting on a slider because he hit it 417 feet. That put the Brewers up 2-0 in the 7th. And, those 2 runs were more than enough for the Brewers with their bullpen. Reds fall 3-0. Reds fall to 56-48 on the season. Reds are now a game and a half back in the NL Central, which, for all intents and purposes, is 2 games back. Reds will, I must mention, will at worst still be tied for a wild card spot at the end of the day, still in the playoffs on July 26th, going into July 27th, 2023.
All right, we're going to do this one more time, I think, because when you say that, it confuses me. I know we don't hold the tiebreaker, okay? and I know we don't even need to really worry about this till the last week of the season, but if we end the season tied, we lose. So having said that, if we're a game and a half back, then we're really 2.5 back, because there's that half game that you have to fill a void with. You have to fill a void with. It's not 2, Nick. It's 2.5. And not only are wait a minute. Let me also back up here. So if it's 1.5 back, we're really 2.5 back. It's as simple as that. It's a full game. It's not a half game.
I don't know. This is too much thinking for me. I do know. I believe it's August 17th is the next day that I believe the Brewers play and the Reds don't, because the Reds have played one more game than the Brewers.
Okay.
So
Well,
if the Brewers lose that game, then it makes it a little bit easier to do the math.
Yes. And if they win that game, it makes it easier to do the math. We'll get rid of that half game. We won't have to worry about this ever again. Let's just get into it. It was a disgusting game. This offense, how do you say this? It felt like there was a lack of energy, and I don't mean that as in like they weren't trying. It was just that the Brewers were sucking the life out of them, and they couldn't get anything going, and it just became overly frustrating to watch. And, you know, they've struck out 18 times in a baseball game, Nick. That's just absolutely bad. Garbage. Disgusting. Peralta, for all intents and purposes, when he faces the Reds, he's Pedro Martinez, and I don't know why. I can't explain it. But these things happen in baseball. I genuinely, not trying to just to dismiss this and say, hey, let's not talk about the game, but I'm just ready to move on. As a fan, I don't even care. I really don't. I'm ready to move on. We're a game and a half back. We didn't get swept. See you later, Milwaukee. Nice knowing you. We'll see if we have to play in the playoffs. But outside of that, I'm done with it. I'm so sick and tired of watching Milwaukee. They're gross, disgusting. The whole thing's a mess.
It's what they do. They win these ugly baseball games. They make a lot of teams look bad.
It's like a triple option football team, and it's just not fun to watch. But it's effective. I mean, I'll give them credit. Yeah. They win baseball games, so kudos to them.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what the rest of their season looks like. Interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline, because they pretty clearly have a deficiency also. Like they've had pretty much the last half decade with their offense. So I don't know. I mean, they play the Braves this weekend. Let's see what happens. I would not be shocked in the least bit if they go out and get swept by the Braves this weekend. Just the way baseball works.
Sure. Yep. Positive, Ben Lively was good.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you have a season like the Reds have had, where you've been a lot better than anyone could have imagined, you need players like Ben Lively to step up and have great years. Ben Lively, I don't even know if you would have asked me on opening day. I don't even know if I knew that Ben Lively was in the Reds organization. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't even know if I knew he was there. But he's been outstanding this year. He pitched really, really well in the last 3 starts, especially against the Brewers. Continues to give this team a chance to win. He's not great. He gave a lot of he gave 8 hits today, but he didn't walk a single batter. Right. He goes out, he throws strikes. He's just been awesome this year, and I don't know if his magic's going to run out at some point, but he's been great, and he's been one of the key pieces of players that have significantly outperformed any realistic expectation. That is why the Reds are still in a race here going into August.
We need this offense to break out and get some of these guys their swagger back, the confidence back. I think there for a while, a lot of these rookies felt like they not only belong, but I think they felt like they were dudes, And I think that they are dudes. I'm not trying to say they're not. But I'd like to see Ellie get his swag back. I'd like to see Matt McLain. And again, this is one single game. But today, Matt McLain looked so much different than he's looked all year, just in regards to chasing pitches. He just did not look himself. He didn't have that many competitive at-bats. And you know what? Maybe it was just contagious, whatever was going on. You watch the guy in front of you strike out, and then the next guy in front of him strikes out. Next thing you know, you're standing in the on-deck circle. You've already watched 2 or 3 guys strike out in a row before you, and you start to overthink it. And next thing you know, the thing snowballs out of control, and you just basically rip the tape up, burn the tape up, whatever you want to call it, and move on. I think that's where we're at. It's just forget it. I'm done with it. Outside of talking about Ben Lively, we have Friedel and Votto in the rundown. Congratulations to those guys. I'm glad to see that they got rolling a little bit. It's a shame that we weren't able to pick it up. I wanted to bring up one thing, Nick. I think that the pivotal moment in this game, if there was ever a chance that the Reds could have got something going, was the inning in which obviously India led off with a double. Votto, like it or not, did his job, pulled a ball to the right side, and then CES strikes out, I think, on 3 pitches. It might have been 4, but it felt like 3 straight pitches. And then after that, I think who came up after CES? Stevenson comes up, and he didn't stand much of a chance either. So if they score there, does it mean that they win the game? I'm not saying it does, but it definitely changes the mindset in the game. I think that maybe the momentum, if you will, would have definitely been in the Reds' favor, and maybe they would have capitalized on that. Maybe they wouldn't have, and they would have lost 3-1 or 4-1 or whatever it would end up being if that happened. But that's all for naught. Your thoughts on Friedel, Votto, and maybe even that situation?
I don't really have any thoughts on the situation. Just CES didn't come through. I mean, he's a rookie. It's going to happen. He's a guy that does have some flaws in his game. As good of a potential that he has some flaws in his game.
Yeah.
And I think it's been pretty obvious all year, just like a lot of guys.
Right.
TJ Friedel, man, he's been great over the last 365 days, and I feel like a lot of people have been very unfair to him. Like, he deserves an opportunity to have a slump, work through it, and come back. He had a really good day today against a pitcher that was absolutely dominant. Smoked a double off the wall, also laid down a bunt, part of his game. And I know bunting can be really, really overrated, but in a game like this where you're just getting nothing going, laid down a perfect bunt, those kind of things are really nice to have in your repertoire. And then Votto, I mean, as much as he was struggling, had a big hit yesterday, then had 2 more hits today. Great to see him just, find a way to work through it. That was really, I mean, the entire office. I did want to ask you something. I've seen some comments in the chat. I was thinking this today as well. I'm sure a lot of it has been just the lack of base runners. Reds only, I think, had 6 base runners today, but the Reds have just not stolen any bases against the Brewers. I was listening. I had to run some errands for part of this game, so I was listening to a little bit on the radio, and I know Tommy Thrall was talking about it, and I think he had said Reds stole 21 bases in their first X number of games against the Brewers, and they've only sold 3 over the last 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything that the Brewers were doing differently to kind of slow that run game down? I know they only had 1 stolen base attempt today. They threw out Jake Fraley.
Yeah.
I was trying to notice it, but I really couldn't. I was trying to figure out what are they doing. There just wasn't enough base runners for me really to get a good feel about it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. You already answered your own question. I think as a team in general, when you're having a hard time getting on base, you become a little more conservative when you get on base because you don't want to ruin a chance, or you don't want to be like, okay, if I get picked off here or we get stolen, if I try to take second base and I get thrown out, then it's like we haven't had a guy on base in what seems like 3 or 4 innings in a row. When you're getting 1 or 2 guys on base every inning, things are a little more free flowing. Guys are going to be a little more aggressive. You feel like it seems just, if that makes sense, right? Maybe the best, again, I use bad analogies sometimes, but sometimes when in a basketball game, Nick, when a team's hitting threes and it's going really, really well, and you feel like nobody can miss, then all of a sudden, the center or somebody that usually doesn't shoot threes is wide open, and then they're like, you know what? I think I'm going to shoot one. That's kind of how it gets sometimes on the base paths. I think you can be overly aggressive sometimes, and it could be a fault. But at the same time, the reason that they're not stealing as many bases against the Brewers is because when they get on base, they kind of take a deep exhale and think, oh, finally, we finally got someone on base. And secondly, if you don't get on base like they haven't been, you strike out 18 times, it's kind of hard to steal a base when you're not on first or second. So I wouldn't read too much into it. And the last thing I'd say is the Brewers do a good job holding runners on, and they have a good catcher. I mean, Contreras is a good catcher. He can throw guys out. Fraley got a great jump today, put it this way. If Fraley's not safe on that play, he's probably not safe on like 98 out of 100 stolen base attempts because he got a great jump. The throw was good, but it wasn't like unbelievably perfect. It was pretty good, and he still was out. And I know people were like, why didn't you challenge that? Why didn't you challenge that? Well, you never know what you might need to challenge later in the game, one. And two, when you look at the replay, it appeared that he was out. The call on the field that he was out. They're not going to overrule that. There's no reason to even waste your time in that situation. The only thing I could ever think about, Nick, in a spot where you might want to challenge something is to try to get him, I don't know, again, this is going way above and beyond, is to try to slow down a pitcher's rhythm or try to make him stand out there for maybe an extra 2, 3, 4 minutes or something like that to see if you can't get to him. But you're not really going to get to a guy that's struck out, 12 guys through how many ever innings he was at. And on top of that, there was nobody on, so it wasn't like it was a big situation regardless as soon as he picked the ball back up. So, I don't know. That's where we're at.
A couple other things here, just things kind of thinking about.
Yeah.
So this is from Joel Luckup. Reds finished the season hitting 180, 259 on base percentage, 298 slugging against the Brewers, averaged 2.7 runs per game. They've hit 262, 340 on base percentage, 427 slugging, 5.1 runs per game against everyone else. So let's just see what they do against other teams of the Brewers. Maybe the Brewers just, have the Reds number. One thing that does kind of stand out to me, the Reds were obviously chasing a lot more pitches, as you mentioned earlier. But I think some of that is also due to the Brewers catching, doing a really good framing job, and the umpires falling for it. And I think some of that probably just snowballed throughout the series, where the Reds maybe are swinging at some pitches that they wouldn't normally swing at because it's so hard to determine what the hell is the strike zone in this series. I think that probably adds to it as well.
Can we also give some credit, though? Because here's the thing. We can sit here and complain and act like the umpires need to do a better job, and they do for the large majority of the time when we talk about it. But you also have to give some credit to the Brewers. Pitchers,
sure.
One, and Contreras. The pitchers hit those spots over and over and over again. Like, they throw a pitch 2-3 inches off the plate, fastball 2 inches off the plate, and Contreras catches it very eloquently, and he frames it very nicely. He makes it look really good, and he'll hold it there forever. He almost acts like it's a strike. Like, he's like, how in the hell are you not calling it a strike? Look, the ball's 2 inches off the plate, man. Well, he throws the pitch, the very next pitch, they hit the same exact spot, and they do it over again. So it's like, at some point, the umpires are going to give in. That is just, I'm not saying I'm an advocate for being able to earn yourself a strike that's not a strike, but that's what the Brewers have done, and they've done a good job of it. And you could say all you want, until they go to the ABS or whatever the replay system they call it, you have to give those guys credit for doing a good job of earning strikes. And also, on top of that, we don't get that because Tyler Stevenson can't catch. Kind of. Like, that's just part of it. If Contreras played for the Reds, all right, and he did that, we as a fan base would say, well, get a better catcher. You don't like the fact that you don't get strikes an inch off the plate? Well, find a catcher that can frame a pitch, because we got one. You go find one. That's your problem, not mine. That's how I would be. And you know what? They're right in thinking that. Now, again, should an umpire be given 2 runs a game? Should it be like 2.1 runs a game? No, I'm not defending that. But I'm also, it's not, my main point, Nick, is it's not a coincidence that they get those calls over and over and over again. And Tyler Stevenson is dragging his glove in the dirt on any pitch that's even relatively lower in the zone. And those pitches are strikes sometimes. And Tyler Stevenson, after he catches it, if you watch, his glove is in the dirt. You're not going to get a strike call with that. You're just not. That's part of it, like it or not. So, and again, Tyler Stevenson's done a much better job catching. I don't want to make it sound like I think he's terrible or anything like that, but there's a stark difference when you watch the game between Contreras and Tyler Stevenson on catching the baseball. Just receiving the baseball It is night and day. So, whatever. But I'm ready for LA. I could give a rat's tail about what they got going on in Milwaukee because it's not going to matter. Good luck for them. Hopefully they enjoy whatever wild card spot they get. If they end up getting a spot where they have to play us in Great American Ballpark after you win this division, then we'll worry about playing them later. I think the difference is right now they do have some good pitching, but we've not capitalized on having good at bats. And somewhere the truth lies in the middle, Nick, on why the Reds have struggled so bad. Is it us or is it them? I don't know how much you give credit either way. So I don't know. That's kind of my nutshell on Joe Luckup's statistical nature there too.
Yeah, I do. Look, the Brewers, they've exploited the system here. And the credit to them. I mean, you're hit it right on. If that was our team, we would love that. We'd be like, hell yeah, we're stealing strikes for our pitchers. This is great.
Right.
You know, but they, almost like the Reds, have exploited a system on the base paths where the Reds are stealing bases, bringing that back because, you know, the rules have changed, kind of more favoring that. So this is just what the Brewers do. But what kind of gives me, I think, Trace, what I kind of want to circle back to here, what gives me a little bit more confidence going forward is the Brewers just might be a really, really, really bad matchup for the Reds because they have these pitchers and these catchers that can expand the strike zone to their credit. But when you have a lineup full of all these young hitters, it makes it really, really difficult to match it. So that's why I don't necessarily think what's happened against the Brewers is going to translate to anything else. Reds could go out this weekend and score 5 runs each night, and it wouldn't shock me one bit.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's part of the story of this series, and there was a tone set on Monday night with that god awful strike zone.
Yep.
And I think some of it just kind of carried over throughout the other 3 games.
I think that's a very fair point, Nick. More than fair. Where else do we go? You want to do some Reds MILB, and then obviously we can get in some injury updates, and then we can kind of maybe take some final parting thoughts from the chat. And more importantly, we didn't get swept. I want to remind everybody, I know it can get hasty in the chat a little bit right now, but the truth is we're only a game and a half back. We couldn't have possibly played all that much worse against the Brewers. So, you know, the beautiful thing is, and I know that you mentioned this off air, I want to bring it up, Nick. I actually, for some dumb reason, the way sports work and the way baseball is and all that stuff, if we have to go play Milwaukee because we're a wild card or they're a wild card and we have to play each other in the playoffs, I really, if I was a Brewers fan, I would hate that. I would hate that. I'd hate to look down and say, well, we're 3 or we're not 3, but they're 3 and whatever, 10 against us. A best of 3 series. Let's lace them up and see what happens. The way baseball and sports goes, we'd win that series. It doesn't make any damn sense, but we would.
And the Reds really, I think, could exploit a 3-game series. The Brewers are kind of built as this team that I think is built more for the 162, where they have, you know, a really deep bullpen. They obviously, just about every starter they throw out there is pretty solid. But the Reds, I mean, hell, you could be throwing Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green in games 1 and 2. You could throw Nick Lodolo into the bullpen. You could throw some of your other starting, Brandon Williams could get thrown. You could really shorten a series and also kind of have a pitching staff on the other end that could match a little bit of what they do.
Yeah.
All right. Louisville Bats, they lost today too. Tough one for the Louisville Bats. They were up 5-1 in the 8th inning, gave up 5 runs in the 8th and 9th to lose. They're now 51-45 on the season. Connor Phillips, a pretty good start outside of his command, did walk 5 batters today, but only allowed 1 run over 5 innings. Phillips now has a 2.38 ERA through 5 starts at AAA. Novi Marte, he stayed hot 2 for 4 with a triple. Jose Barrero overthrew with a walk, and then Stuart Fairchild was 0 for 4. Some news: Reds announced that the number 25 ranked prospect Leon Richardson, who has a 1.96 ERA in 18 starts. Now he's only been going about 2 innings a start because he was coming back off Tommy John surgery. He is promoted to AAA Louisville. This is a guy that I've mentioned several times this year, Trace. I think could really get in the mix this year. I wouldn't be shocked if the Reds decided to call him up in September. as a one-inning reliever. He's got incredibly dominant stuff. The Reds have not been shy of promoting him. He started at Daytona, went to Chattanooga, now up at Louisville. So he could be a September call, be a really, really, I think, big weapon in the bullpen. And then Chattanooga plays at 7:15 tonight. Dayton plays at 7:05. Daytona at 6:30.
Okay. Oh, as I said, Nick, I'm ready to move on. And the beautiful thing is we get to face guys that should not be striking us out 18 times in a game in LA. Once again, this Reds team, I'm not saying we're lucky, just saying we caught a little bit of a break. Who, what, when, where, and why, Nick?
All right, I'll just kind of run through the whole series here real quick. We'll probably do a podcast for Friday morning, which I'll have a little bit more detail about Friday's matchup, Bobby Miller against Brandon Williamson. But so Friday, Brandon Williamson going against Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller was a top 25 prospect in all of baseball in 2023. Really talented pitcher. Had some mixed results. Got that 4.28 ERA so far this year. Saturday be Luke Weaver. Maybe his last start with the Reds. We'll see, going up against Emmett Sheehan. He's got a 6.75 ERA, Dodgers number 6 prospect. Just called up last month straight from Double-A. And then Sunday it'll be Graham Ashcraft against Michael Grove. He's got a 6.19 ERA. He's been up and down in the MLB the last 2 years. So the Reds certainly, I mean, it's never going to be an easy series going against the Dodgers. The Dodgers 58-42. They're playing right now against the Blue Jays. They're off on Thursday. They pretty much have all their pieces in the lineup, but just a ton of pitching injuries. So you definitely catches and breaks on the pitching front. And the Dodgers also just acquired Kiki Hernandez back from the Red Sox. So, yeah.
That they did. Trade deadline is fastly approaching. We'll see. We'll see if anything comes in the next few days. More than likely, I'm guessing this is going to go down right to the wire. There's without question some negotiating going on within the Reds front office. I don't know what it is exactly that they're trying to pull, but I think they make a pretty big move. I think they do. Could be wrong on that, but
they'll do something.
Yeah, they're gonna. Well, and I think in order for them to do something, they're gonna have to move somebody that's notable. I don't think it's gonna be a prospect, so we'll see what happens. Anything to add?
Reds have been pretty aggressive all the way back to 2019. 2019, of course, you acquired Trevor Bauer, you acquired Kevin Gossman. 2020, they acquired Brian Goodwin and Archie Bradley. 2021, they acquired 3 relievers. Then obviously 2022 was a much different, but they were still very aggressive. So I remember the Reds back in like the mid 2000s were like notoriously quiet at the trade deadline, right? I mean, there was a lot of years where everyone, the whole memes, poke them with a stick. Are you going to do anything, Reds? That has not been the case of late with Nick Krall. He's been wheeling and dealing really every year the last 4 years. So I would expect there to be several moves. I just don't know what it is and how far they're going to go.
The chat's popping off saying we need bullpen help. I couldn't agree more. We definitely need bullpen help. We need bullpen help arguably as much as we need anything. I know starting pitching has been the thing that everybody has beaten the door down about, but the starting pitching, at least lately, has been serviceable. It's been competitive, and the bullpen's been competitive too. But we've run these guys are running so many innings. They're running so hot for so long. I don't know, man. I expect that thing to burn to the ground at some point with all the wear and tear that we've put on this bullpen. So we'll see what happens. I feel like we're still in a pretty damn good spot. I don't know why I feel so confident today, but I do, and we'll see how it shakes out. No Dunk today, no Nicolas Cage today. Losses are very, very boring ways to end shows, I know, but I do want to say just quickly, the fact of the matter is we have incredible numbers on this show. We do this all the time, I know, but at the same time, I mean it. We appreciate your support, man. If you don't mind telling people about this show, get them to come into the chat. And I know the chat's a little wild and reckless at times, but that's part of the fun too. And also, if you don't watch this show live, that's okay. Leave us a comment. Leave us something that you'd like to discuss on the next show, and we'll do our best to try to get to it as many times as we can. The other couple things I want to mention here really quickly before we go is as we get closer and closer and closer to playoff baseball, we'll probably try to make ourselves a little more available longer and try to build up a camaraderie of a collection of people that enjoy the Reds. And that's what we've done here, and that's what we're most proud about. This isn't really about me and Nick all that much, to be honest with you. Yes, we like trying to have engaging and fun conversations, but more importantly, we want this to kind of be a community of people that we're not all going to get along. That's obvious, but enjoy themselves, come to a place. This is a place that you can come to vent and or have fun after wins, and we'd like to make ourselves a little more available as we get closer, whether that turns into going live in the 6th inning or maybe that's going live the whole game once or twice, maybe towards the very end of the year. There's a chance we do some kind of watch party maybe if the playoffs aren't at home. We'll figure it out, but I'm just telling you, thank you for your loyalty, more importantly, to watch this show. If you have not, leave us a review. Nick, what else would you like to add before we take off?
I got some injury updates. A whole bunch of them were just posted on MLB.com today. So I wrote some of these down. I'll run through these real quick because I know this is the question we get probably asked more than anything. Yeah. So Hunter Green, he threw a side session yesterday. He has one more level to reach in his core stability program. Once he knocks that out, he'll throw live batting practice session and then start a rehab assignment with either Louisville or Dayton. David Bell said, quote, "It could happen really fast. Any day it's going to happen. Expected return is August." Nick Lodolo, expected return still September, did throw his first side session yesterday in Goodyear, Arizona. Went well according to David Bell. Likely not back until September. I think if I'm the Reds, I'm looking at, hey, Lodolo, let's just get you up to 1 or 2 innings. I don't even think I would even be pushing him back to start. I think, hey, I would just use him as a bullpen weapon this year. Why not? Any thoughts on that before I go to the other guys, Trace?
No, I don't mind that either. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I like to see these guys throw a little bit before I make executive decisions on what they should do towards the end of the year, but I'm open for any of these guys to help us in any way imaginable, and it wouldn't shock me if it got to where we started throwing maybe an opener with Lodolo or something like that too, because I mean, Lodolo could be, and I'm not suggesting he's going to be. Everybody in the chat says we need a left-handed arm out of the bullpen. We need a left-handed arm out of the bullpen, and I'm not suggesting Lodolo is going to be a reliever for his rest of his career, but based off the circumstances, he's probably not going to be a guy, Nick, that they want to run out there and throw 80, 90 to 100 pitches. He could be that 1 or 2 inning guy that's left-handed that they rely on sparingly, if you will. So, anyways, food for thought.
Or even have Lodolo be the opener as a lefty,
right?
And then maybe have Ben Lively come in after him, kind of mess teams with, especially teams that do some platoon lineups, mess them up a little bit. Justin Dunn, his expected return is early September. Dunn also, there must have been a whole bunch of side sessions going on Tuesday. He threw a side session Tuesday. David Bell said went well. Targeted to have his first live batting practice versus hitters on August 8th, and a rehab assignment actually expected by August 19th. Casey Legumina, expected return is early August. Also threw a side session yesterday, hoping for a rehab assignment soon. And then Vladimir Gutierrez, I found this one interesting. He pitched a simulated game on Tuesday, and he's expected to throw a bullpen game in the Arizona Complex League. That's where TJ Antone pitched his first game yesterday. And the Reds are planning on having Gutierrez come back for a bullpen role this year, but want him to be a starter again in 2024. And then a guy that is bizarrely no updates on. Remember the lefty that was our supposed to be our premier lefty out of the bullpen, Reaver San Martin? No updates on him. He's just mysteriously fallen off the map. So not really sure what's going on with our old friend Reaver. But a lot of good information. That's on MLB.com. Mark Sheldon did a great job laying all that out for us to kind of give us an update on players that we were kind of in the dark on.
San Martin, man. That's like finding Waldo. That guy, man. He pitched on opening day, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Fernando Cruz was the first guy out. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too. What a that doesn't even feel like it's this year. Sometimes you're like, damn, that was this year, huh? All right.
Vossler triple.
Vossler's triple down the line. Shout out Jason Vossler. I mean, what a wild season, man. What a wild season. Shout out to Vossler, man. Vossler's been silent in the chat for a while. I there it is. I knew Mouse Cop was going to bring me one. All right. That's wrap for today. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I know you're probably going to be twiddling your thumbs, having no idea what you're going to do later tonight because there's no Reds to watch. There's no chat to yell at. There's nothing to get frustrated about or get happy about. But the Dodgers are next. We're on to LA, baby. Let's go out there and see if we can't win a series and keep it moving. So, as a reminder, that will be a 10:10 first pitch on the Eastern Standard Time, of course. Like, we will be doing a late show tomorrow. And as always, you can watch it on Bally Sports Ohio. The other thing you can do, as a reminder, you know this, I know this, is you can watch Off the Bench. That will be tomorrow. I'm not sure who's going to be hosting that show. That tell you what, that show, talk about a host. Tom's going on vacation, and that thing, I think, has a new host every day. We'll see who it is tomorrow. I'm not sure, but as always, do me a favor. If you've not done this already, I know that it might be easy to forget or you don't have time to do it, blah, 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 blah. Spend like 2 minutes. It's going to take you 2 minutes. Get on the podcast platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Get on Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. Get on Google Podcasts or whatever it takes. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a kind review. And we'll be back better than ever tomorrow. As always, I know it can get toxic at times. I'm usually the one stirring the pot. But I want to remind you that we're a game and a half back. Or 2 games. Or whatever it is. We'll figure it out one day. We're going to win this division. We are going to win this division. We're going to win this division, baby. Be ready for it. Don't let it catch up to you. Go Reds. See you tomorrow.